Indian fathers and the age-old question of why they behave like manchildren. I'm sorry you have Parkinson's, Papa. But honestly, I'm not. 3 years ago, I said I'd always be there for you. That doesn't mean you can keep being mean to me. When I was sick as a kid, in surgery, or taking medicine, you weren't around. You were always there to remind me that you paid for my doctor visits, allergy pills, surgery, and everything else. If I'm wrong, you'd know exactly how many surgeries I've had, what they were for, who the doctors were, and what hospitals they were at. These are things parents should know. At home, you'd yell at me when I lost my asthma pump at 9 years old, and I choked trying to breathe. I don't understand why you didn't keep a spare one on you. When we were in Australia, you took away my allergy medicine while I sneezed and suffered through a horrible drive. Even though I get really sick in cars, you made me go anyway. Sometimes you said I was acting up, and other times, I needed to be strong and just deal with it. It didn't stop there. I saw you explode in anger over the smallest things. It didn't matter that it's normal for kids to drop things, spill food, and make mistakes on homework. You needed to take out your anger on someone. Kids don't realize when a grown-up is being mean, so it was really convenient. You and Mom have that in common. When I went to college in Edinburgh, you bought me a flat. When you visited, you were extra mean because you wanted to make sure I knew how ungrateful I was. You wanted to bring up every mistake I made. You wanted me to sleep on the uncomfortable pull-out bed in the guest room, even though I lived there alone. You wanted me to wash dishes in cold water and not turn on the heater. You looked through all my things and told me you were mad, really furious, that I had different kinds of tea and soap. You left me in that freezing flat and got angry about the high electric bill, but you didn't do anything to fix the apartment or change the heater to gas. You would make fun of my intelligence, and it made me want to give up. You would make me cry, and you thought that's what a good parent does. I was so anxious about your visits, I moved out. Remember that for all the bad things you did to me, I got even worse treatment from your ex-wife. She made me feel bad about my weight, and she forced me to go on crash diets, take diabetes medicine, and take a ton of vitamins. She said I had a weight problem, which gave me a really bad stomach. I still have problems with my stomach today. You've never really been that involved in raising me. Maids, teachers, drivers, and Mom did all the hard work. To top it all off, you ruined my PhD graduation. A special day that I'll never get back. All you could think about was yourself. You couldn't live without a maid for 10 days. We hadn't seen each other for the whole pandemic, more than 3 years. You didn't care that I had to pack up my whole apartment and move to a different country in a week. I was exhausted from my exams. But you demanded that I serve you every hour. You wanted me to make you chai, arrange your pillows, and do other silly things. All because your Parkinson's, which you've had for 3 years, suddenly became more important than anything else happening in anyone's life. You can still move around, but you can't do everything as easily. Did you ask your son to do all this stuff? No, he, just like you, sat around and judged me. Did either of you even try to leave me alone so I could pack? No, both of you had a meltdown because I set a boundary. You both had to get your own tea, water, and pillows. I needed to pack. You two didn't do a single thing that a good dad or brother would do at a time like that. When you saw how disappointed I was, you pretended to be sorry. You cried fake tears, mumbled as sorry, and then went back to being your old mean self the next day. I also saw you try to give a toast when my professors wanted me to talk about getting my degree. That moment, along with your crying in front of the whole department, shows how you've been a parent. You're always there to take credit, but you're never there for your daughter the way she needs you to be. The best thing you can say about a woman is that she's traditional because you think women exist to serve you. I've tried to fix our relationship. I've tried explaining how your behavior makes me feel. I offered to pay for therapy. I said I would pay you back for college. I even pretended that nothing bad happened. I tried to forgive you when you met your new wife because I thought you were being nicer. But then I realized it was just an act. Even getting a PhD wasn't enough for you to treat me with respect. When I told you how demanding you were during my graduation, you ignored everything I said about fixing our relationship. You answered me in one-word sentences, or you just said, parents and children are not equal. All I've gotten from a lifetime of suffering with you is a lousy text with excuses about how hard your marriage was. You chose to get married and have kids with her. Nobody forced you, and you said you've been a committed parent. You said we didn't have to agree on everything. When has anything good you've given me, like money, come without a bunch of strings attached? You paid for a huge birthday party for me and 100 people? Yes, because you ignored me at home when I was telling you I was really miserable at school and always sick. You paid for my medical bills? Yes, but you yelled at me for everything at home, ignored me when I was sick, and reminded me every few weeks how ungrateful I was. You paid for college? Yes, but you took advantage by being extra mean, criticizing everything I did in the flat, and making fun of me for having a boyfriend. You didn't say anything to my brother about his girlfriend. And even though I worked hard, got a PhD, and a great job, you were there to support me in public, but in private, you reminded me of my place. Do you want to live in your made-up world where you were a great parent? Fine. But then you should be okay with me treating you the way you treated me when I was sick as a child. When or if your money runs out, I'll give you some money for a caregiver. If you're being mistreated in a nursing home, tough it out. It's tough love. When you're choking or in pain or you mess your pants, just deal with it. I'll throw you a nice birthday party. Boom! I'm a committed daughter. Next story. Dealing with the locker thief in high school. It was back in the early 2000s, probably during the 2003-2004 school year. All year long, people were having things stolen from their lockers. It wasn't everyone, but enough that everyone knew someone it happened to. The school blamed us for the thefts, saying we were sharing our locker combinations with our friends. They claimed that the thefts were our fault because we were too careless with our personal things. They even charged us every time we had to change our locker combinations, even after something was stolen. They said it was our fault. They never considered that maybe, just maybe, someone was stealing things. Instead of trying to figure out who was stealing and how they were doing it, they just made us pay more money and told us to be more careful. It was a little ridiculous if you ask me. Well, someone stole my graphing calculator from my locker. I never gave out my combination. My friends were jerks and liked to mess with each other, but I didn't share my combination with them. Honestly, it was more likely that they were going to steal my calculator to try to mess with me. Losing my calculator was a big deal. It cost me $150 to buy a new one, and another $150 to get a locksmith to change my locker lock. That was back in 2003, so it was even more expensive then. It was like someone was just taking my money. I was furious. My dad was friends with a detective named Uncle Buddy. He went to the school to ask about the thefts and wanted to get the security camera footage for the day my calculator went missing. But the school said there wasn't a problem and claimed I must have given out my locker combination. They blamed me for not being careful with my belongings. My dad tried to reason with them, telling them that the security camera footage would help solve the mystery, but the school said that they didn't have the camera footage. Then, to make matters worse, they said that he needed a warrant to see the camera footage. Even after my dad got the warrant, the school went to court to fight it. They said that it was about student privacy. Apparently, the school thought that they could protect student privacy better than the police, even when the theft of my calculator, and likely many others, was something the school could have prevented. Honestly, they weren't making any sense. Uncle Buddy wanted to catch the thief, so he came up with a plan. He brought a laptop to our house. "Put this in your locker," he told me. "Tell everyone you know about your new laptop." "Okay, sure, Uncle Buddy," I said, not knowing what he was up to. What a weird request. Did he know something? 3 days later, I went to my locker between classes. The laptop, the bag, a bottle of Coke, and some pens were gone. I grabbed my phone and texted Uncle Buddy, "The laptop is gone." He replied, "Stand by for the show, and you reported the theft to the police, right?" "Okay," I said, a little confused. The rest of the day went by, and I didn't hear back from Uncle Buddy. The next morning, he showed up at school with 3 police officers. They pulled a student named Dave out of class, along with his mom, who worked in the school office. The principal was really angry. I couldn't hear what the police said, but the principal was upset that they had the nerve to accuse Dave of stealing. Turns out, there was a tracker in the laptop bag. Uncle Buddy got a warrant to search Dave's house. The laptop was worth over $1,000, so it was a felony to steal it. The next afternoon, he set up a tent and table outside the school. He hung a banner across the top, "If you have had something stolen from your locker, see me." By the next morning, Dave and his mom were in the news. Dave had used his mom's account to get on the school network and get everyone's locker combinations. He went around opening lockers, looking for valuables to steal. What a horrible thing to do. Uncle Buddy's table got a lot of people reporting thefts. Each theft was a misdemeanor, unless the stolen item was worth more than $1,000, then it was a felony. That meant that the longer Dave continued his thievery, the more crimes he was committing, and the more severe the consequences would be. In less than a week, Uncle Buddy solved the case and charged Dave and his mom with 9 felonies and 35 misdemeanors. When I finally heard the whole story from Uncle Buddy, he explained what happened. He had me put a brand new laptop with a GPS tracker in it in my locker, then I pretended it was stolen. He then got a warrant to search the house where the laptop was taken. The laptop was worth over $1,000, so it was a felony theft. He found 8 other stolen items worth over $1,000 in Dave's house, mostly jewelry taken from other kids' lockers. Because my calculator and the laptop were stolen on separate days, and because I had changed my combination between the 2 thefts, Dave got both a felony and a misdemeanor charge because of me. The stolen items worth over $1,000 totaled about $12,000, and the stuff worth less than $1,000 was worth about $3,000. This was only the stuff that was proven stolen. We knew Dave stole a lot more, but they couldn't prove it because people didn't report their thefts. Maybe if people had told the truth about everything, the principal wouldn't have been so resistant to getting a warrant, or maybe he wouldn't have said that it wasn't a problem. The school and the town were shocked. This was the biggest crime in town in years. The school was super embarrassed. After Dave and his mom were arrested, everyone who had been charged $150 to change their locker combination sued the school district. It was a class action lawsuit. The reason was because the school hadn't done anything to stop all the thefts. They blamed us for being careless when they should have been preventing the thefts in the first place. There were 218 people in the lawsuit, and everyone got $85 after the lawyers took their cut. The principal lost his job because he didn't try to solve the problem when it was reported to him. He probably should have just listened to the parents who were concerned about the thefts. Maybe he could have kept his job. The school had a locksmith change all the locks, so they charged each student $150 for the new lock. But then the school had to pay $100 back to each student who sued. So the school was out $21,800 and their legal fees. They should have stopped the thefts in the first place. Then came the trial. The prosecutor wanted Dave to get 10 years in prison, 5 years in a youth jail, and 5 years in adult prison. He wanted Dave's mom to get 15 years. They would be sent to prison for a long time. But they refused that deal. The trial went on, and Dave got 1 year in prison for each felony, the minimum sentence, and 1 month of probation for each misdemeanor. That was 9 years in prison plus 35 months of probation. His mom got 18 years in prison and 6 years of probation. They would be going to prison for many, many years. I went to most of the trial. Dave was caught on camera going into over 20 lockers, and the police had found all the stolen stuff that he was charged with stealing. The judge wasn't happy with Dave, and he thought that Dave probably stole more stuff, but the police couldn't prove it. I felt so bad for everyone whose things were stolen and couldn't get justice. Dave's mom's sentencing was a big deal. The judge made it clear that he wasn't going to let her get away with what she had done. I'm really glad that I got my calculator back. My name was engraved inside the battery compartment. I still have it. And now I have a great story to tell. Uncle Buddy showed that good people, like him, can do amazing things, even when everyone else says there's no problem.